Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to coverage of Friday Night IndyCars, powered by And1 Designs here on RaceSpotTV. Cars have just literally completed practice. Will Vincent here on Glacier TV. We are going to go right down to the grid in just one moment's time. Follow me on Twitter at Will Vincent. So then, let's get ourselves a look at your starting grid for today's event. It's going to be Jeffrey Redfield on pole position. Richard Avery starting alongside him on that front row of the grid. Then we'll have ourselves a little bit of a look back. In row number 2, Fabio Gonzalez and Marcus Hamilton. Row number 3 for today will be Michael Dinkel and Marco Morgan. Andrea Boldi and Frederick Evers in row 4. Row 5, Pierre Ibrizzo and Carlo Labassi. Row 6, Iker Estefania and Marin S. Kolak. Then you see the rest of qualifying coming up on your screen. A total of 19 drivers making the trip to Interlagos here today. So then, ladies and gentlemen, the cars, as you see, they are right now just lined up behind the Irison.com first safety car. They are getting set to go racing here today, and there you see the pace lap commencing. It's a very short pace lap here. They start them in the middle of the racetrack. Plenty of onboard angles for you, of course, here today. We've got one with your 2014 ISOWC Indy 500 champion. That is Michael Dinkel. We've also got one today from Carlo Labassi. There you see him. He will be starting this race in the 10th position. Richard Avery, you see him on Monday night. You also get to see him here today on Friday night, riding along board here in the number 2 car, starting in the 2nd position. And then, of course, you got your pole sitter, Jeffrey Redfield, who will be bringing the field to the green flag here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. Today you see that the cars currently lined up, working themselves on the back end of the racetrack, getting set to let them go here today. They'll work themselves now through Yonkau, and then we will be running here. Once our pace car makes that journey, of course, down to the left. Pit road entry speed here, it is incredibly fast. These guys actually use pretty much that inside line to make it the shortest distance they possibly can around the racetrack. But ladies and gentlemen, you can see as we look high above here, having a look at our top row as they get set to go racing. There's the view behind them as the cars now just lining themselves up 2 by 2 all the way through the field. There you can see that pace car about to make that journey down towards pit road. We will be racing here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. That pace car indeed now makes that journey down towards pit road. As it does so, week number 8 of the 2014 Season 3 Road Course Championship starts right now. Cars coming through turn number 1 for the first time. Looks as though we've got a little bit of an issue, but all of these cars are going to make it through okay. A little bit of beating and banging there. That number 7 car, that was Christian Theo Zolt, to ride along board with him as he got himself, you see a little bit of front wing damage there. He's running himself in that 15th position, trying to make that pass on that number 18 car. Front downforce being lost. This might hurt him, but he's going to try and go down to that inside, and they will stay side by side for the corner. And actually, Zulk is potentially going to lose a position as they run up the hill for the first time. Almost contact there with that Irwin car as they work themselves up the hill for the first time. Your race leader, though, Jeffrey Redfield, he's got himself a good jump. There is the view from behind, and there is Richard Avery, 1.4 seconds back already, as we're not even half a lap here at Interlagos, but they'll work themselves back down the hill, and it has been a great start to this race for Jeffrey Redfield as he will now come down through Yonkau for the first time, getting him set to complete the first of 32 laps here. So then, just to let you know, everyone has made it through these first opening sequence of corners without any incident. We have got Christian Theo Zulk again. He is really battling in this mid-pack right now, but also Michael Dinkel relied on board with him. Is he going to try and make a pass? He's not quite close enough, but down to the inside he will go, and he takes a position away from Marcus Hamilton, and he moves himself up into 4th place on the racetrack. Dinkel up 1 place since the start of today's race. There you see his last lap, 123.908. Dinkel is on the move, but here you see the Movano train car trying to get back down into turn 4. Not going to happen, and Dinkel will remain in position, but he's behind, right along board with Marin S. Kolak, running himself in the 7th position right now. It's coming up in 7th on our screen. Indeed, he is running in that 7th position. All over the rear of Morgan, trying to go down to that inside there. Not going to make it work. Karlak remained in that 7th position for the time being. Good start to the race. Say everyone has completed these first couple of laps without incident. We've got the ticker running along the top of your screen. But as we say, all these guys are through, no incidents. We've got 19 cars still running in this event. And the passing opportunities, we've got this one coming up here as we ride along board now with Marco Morgan running in that 6th position right now, trying to make a move on Fabio Gonzalez, running himself in 5th place just ahead in that Movano X Team car. Nowhere near close enough though as they come down into the Center S as they begin lap number 3 of 32 here. We'll remain on board of Morgan for the couple of corners. So then you see the train of cars as they work themselves down into the duckbill corner. By the way, your race leader, Jeremy Redfield, there you can see him on your screen. There you can see Richard Avery running in that 2nd position. That gap is now 2.1 seconds on the racetrack, and then you have to go back a further 1.5 seconds to get to Marcus Hamilton, running himself in that 3rd place right now, right along board with him. And Hamilton's running in that 3rd position right now, not doing a bad job of it at all. There you can see his speed. This is a very slow section of the racetrack. Now they come out of this corner, that run down to Ewan Cow. You can finally unleash that wheel, just get that car now through Young Cow, and then you are flat out all the way down to the Center S. We'll remain on board with Hamilton. Up to 175, up to 180 miles an hour then as you come down towards turn number 1. You'll notice that Hamilton hasn't got the draft as he peaks at 183 miles an hour coming down into turn number 1. And to say Hamilton started this race in 4th, up 1 position, now running in that 3rd position, but he's still got great battle going on here with Dinkel and Gonzalez. Half a second separating them as they battle for P4 on the racetrack. And here is the view then from Michael Dinkel looking back at Gonzalez. You can see the Movano X Team car is putting a lot of pressure on the Vortex Sim Racing driver of Michael Dinkel. Don't forget, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can check out Dinkel and 32 other drivers in the 2014 ISOWC Indianapolis 500, powered by And1 Design and in benefit of Orphan Secure. That will be this coming Sunday. Coverage will start at 4 p.m. GMT exclusively here on RaceSpotTV. Great little battle there you see. 3-car train going on. Carlo Labatti running himself in the 9th position. Andrea Boldi running himself in the 10th spot right now. And then just behind you have Roderick College running in the 11th spot right now as these guys work themselves out of Young Cow once again. We'll have a look from the rear of Boldi. There you can see Crouch just a couple of attempts behind him, using that push to pass. This is going to be close. It'll go down to the outside, will he? So work themselves down into the center. The answer to that question is yes, he is going to be. There you see Boldi, and just coming along the right-hand side, you are going to have a little bit of contact, but the two drivers will remain on track, and Boldi able to hold on to that position. But of course, cars will now have the opportunity to try and come back as they work themselves down into Duckbill Corner, turn number 4, running on board them, and we'll get that job done this time by Crouch, who's himself up into the top 10. Really textbook pass then for Virgin Cold. We'll get ourselves a replay of that one, however, to see how we set this one up, because this all started down that run down towards turn number 1. There you can see pipping to the outside that time on that approach down into the center edge. You'll see red car on the left-hand side of your screen trying to go around the outside. Didn't make it work, then fell interestingly back into line. This is what gave him the great run through turn 3. The curve of the soul allowed him to be right on the rear as they worked himself then down in towards turn number 4. And this is just a textbook way of doing it. There you'll see, just slots it down to the inside into turn 4. Easy overtaking maneuver. Almost a little bit of contact between the two cars, but that number 17 car reached himself up 1 position, and Carl has now scored inside the top 10 in this event. But he's actually even fallen back into the 12th position. But something has happened to Carl. He has fallen down a couple of spots. We'll see if we can get a replay of that, because he is now down, as I say, running in that 12th position. So getting himself up into the top 10, and then it all goes wrong for him. So we'll work ourselves in that middle section of the race track. Potentially a little bit of beating and bang on this 11 car. No, not here. They'll work themselves. Oh, that car just gets sideways on him once, and it gets sideways twice. Very lucky, actually, that he didn't make contact with the Batty, but he is now down. And Christian Theo Salts as well, looking as though he is classified as out of the race. Something's happened to him, so we'll keep our attention with him as well. He's running in the 19th position, classified as the last driver on the lead lap. In fact, he will go down a lap now, but something has happened to Christian Theo Salts. We believe it could be down into turn number 1. The answer to that question is yes, they do. They make contact there, and Salts, of course, has had a moment in the early going in this race. So, potentially something happened then down into turn 4, because the big wiggle, car getting sideways, and that was your issue there. Christian Theo Salts is actually going to be classified as out of today's event. Jeffrey Ritfield continues to still lead the way here as we're now on lap number 7 of 32 here at Interlagos. Ritfield last time by a 117.8, a 117.852 last time by for Richard Avery. So Avery has stopped the bleeding. His last lap was just 2/1000ths of a second slower than Jeffrey Ritfield in that battle for the race lead. Compare the lap times though with Marcus Hamilton, who's running in that 3rd position. He did a 118.6 last time by, almost a second slower than Richard Avery to complete running through your top 5. Marcus Hamilton in that 3rd place is pretty much doing the same lap times right now as Michael Dinkle. Dinkle still has Fabio Gonzalez behind him. Those two guys are pretty much identical when it comes to their speed on the racetrack right now. So then, continuing to work here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. As I say, now onto lap number 7 of 32. Redfield is still your race leader. He'll come to put another lap in the books. Most of these guys are looking at a one-stop strategy here. That will likely take place somewhere in the region of laps 15 to 18 here today. So we've got to bear that one in mind. Field has settled down a little bit. However, Andrea Boldi is having a little bit of a battle with Carlo Labate. We're right along board with these guys very quickly as they are battling for 10th place, or 9th place and 10th place even on the racetrack. So there you see working at Boldi coming out of Curve of the Soul, working himself down towards turn number 4 again. Still about 3/4 of a second separating these two drivers. Kolch is back on the move, by the way, trying to close up to the rear of Pierre Ubritsu. We saw that issue earlier on with Kolch hitting himself very loose down at Yonkau. But now you can see he is trying to find a way past Pierre Ubritsu in a hurry. Don't think he'll be close enough to make a move down here. Indeed, he doesn't, but Kolch is on the move all of a sudden. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're working ourselves towards the conclusion of lap number 8. In fact, we'll just be able to start lap number 9 in just 1 moment's time here on RaceSpotTV. We're going to step aside for just 1 moment, and then we'll be back with continuing coverage here from Interlagos. Stick with us.
by iRacing.com has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the front. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. The race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start-finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big choke.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to continuing coverage here from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, week number 8 of the 2014 Season 3 iRacing.com IndyCar Road Course Championship. And Jeffrey Redfield is still classified as your overall race leader. We have now got 2 drivers classified as out of the race, Christian Thiensult and Oscar Mandan. Of course, they had themselves a crash a little bit earlier on in today's event, which is the reason why they are our 2 retirees. Still got 17 cars running. All of them are classified on the lead lap. So then, let's check in right now with Richard Avery, because he is starting to pick up the pace. His last lap time, 1 minute 18.029. You compare that to the lap time of your race leader, Jeffrey Redfield, at 1 minute 18.031. These 2 guys are pretty similarly matched on the racetrack right now. Although Redfield's fastest lap has been his bit faster than that of Avery, Redfield is doing a pretty good job right now. And we see there, we have a look from behind. You can just about see in the distance Richard Avery, who continues to run in that 2nd position. 1.9 seconds is the gap. Let's see what their lap times are as they come past start-finish time. 1:18.7 there for Jeffrey Redfield and 1 minute 18.0 for Richard Avery. Avery is really beginning to close up this gap, and of course Redfield has got to be careful with his tyres. He just cannot at all do anything to let that gap come down because he's overusing his tyres. Fabio Gonzalez, Michael Dinkel, they continue their battle on the racetrack as we continue to ride now on board with Fabio Gonzalez running himself in that 5th place on the racetrack. Now, Gonzalez is now about 11.5 seconds behind your overall race leader. He is 1.8 seconds right now behind Michael Dinkel. Sorry, I'd make that half a second now on the racetrack. But just ahead of Dinkel, you got Marcus Hamilton. So these guys, all 3 of them, are still technically battling for a podium. Be it Gonzalez, be it Dinkel, or be it Marcus Hamilton, they each have a shot of potentially getting themselves onto that 3rd step of the podium. It does look as though at this stage of the race that you could argue that Avery and Redfield, they're in their own battle for the 1st and 2nd places, and it's just these 3 guys, actually possibly 4 guys, because Marco Morgan, there you see him just coming into the background. He is kind of there in the mix as well now. So for Morgan, he has still got the shot as well of, through the sequence of pit stops, potentially getting himself back into the mix here at Interlagos, as we are getting closer to that 1st round of pit stops. So having a look high above, you get to see just how much elevation there is here at Interlagos. And we're saying Morgan continues to run in that 6th place right now as those cars come back down towards turn number 1. Pierre Britsu still having himself a little bit of a battle right now, right along board with him. Now ahead of him is Carlo Labate, 1 second ahead. Vivian Coles, you'll see him in your background. He's actually fallen back now by about 1.5 seconds. He's 2 seconds behind Britsu. We saw him all over the rear about 3 laps ago before we went to commercial. And it does look as though that Coles has potentially had to overuse his tyres. He had that slide, 2 slides in a row actually, which is what cost him. He was up into 10, fell down into the 12th position. But Britsu now is starting to close that gap to Carlo Labate. We'll see, there is Labate, and last lap times for them, 1:20.5 for Labate, 1:19.7 for Britsu. So Britsu is charging. Coles, meanwhile, is still going faster than Britsu, but he's now got a 2-second gap, which he needs to gain up to the car ahead of him. Gonzalez and Dinkel, though, they continue to battle as we go back on board. We've got a spinner down there, and that is a Marco Morgan. So Morgan has had himself a moment. We'll get ourselves a replay of that. That was on the, I believe, the exit of Young Cal. And let's get ourselves a look at this. So this is the same way as Carl's did earlier, potentially, on the run out of Young Cal, actually, rather than run in. Morgan just losing that car, the same way Jonas Nakurian actually did in the Ice.com World Championship Grand Prix Series a little bit earlier on this year. We'll get another look at that from on board. Coming down into Young Cal. Using that curb on the way in. Car just gets loose on corner exit. Doesn't touch the white line, just a little bit loose. Potentially just overusing those in-car adjustments, but he is now on to pit road. 8.5 second stop then for Marco Morgan as he comes back out onto the racetrack. So we are getting close to that halfway point now, so he can pit, take fuel, get himself to the end of the race. We're just going to have to be careful now with his tyres throughout the rest of today's event. He's the first driver to actually make a pit stop. He's actually made 2 pit stops here today, classified down in the 16th position now on the racetrack. Frederick Evers closing up to the rear of Pierre Abritzer as there will ride along board with Evers in that number 8 car, right on board of him for a couple of corners. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, these cars have got multitude of in-car tools they can use to adjust the balance of their car throughout the course of this race. They'll have the anti-roll bars, both front and rear. They also have a fuel mix setting as well. If they need to save a bit of fuel as Evers comes onto pit road, so he's not going to be saving any fuel. He's getting himself to a point now where he can get himself towards the end of the race as we're now onto lap number 15. Checking, no one else coming onto pit road. So Evers is our second driver to make a pit stop. We'll stay with him as he comes in. He'll get himself from fresh boots, and he'll also get himself topped up with fuel as well to go. And let's see what his pit stop time is going to be. 8.8 seconds on the gun for him. He is out and away. We also actually have Tumu Valigivari scored right now in pit race. 7.4 second stop for him. He is back out and away, and he'll become the last driver on the lead lap. So then, there you see Valigivari back out onto the racetrack. Jeffrey Redfield will keep an eye out on him then, as you see, just working himself. Almost about 3/4 of a lap, almost 4/5 of a lap now, ahead of the last place guy on the racetrack. But there you see your race leader, Jeffrey Redfield, working himself down into turn number 4. There you see Richard Avery. He has fallen back, and that gap is now 6.5 seconds on the racetrack. The reason for that is Avery has had a moment somewhere. We need to see if we can find something out about that one in just one moment's time, because you have got Kolak on pit road. But let's see if we can see anything that has happened to Richard Avery, because this last lap was incredibly slow. This is the back end of the racetrack, so we'll see if we can see anything with him. I've got a feeling it might be down here at Young Cal, like we've seen a lot of people do. But Avery had a 1:23.616 lap. Did he lose it here? The answer to that question is no, and you can see already he's actually a lot further back. So we'll have a look, rewind our tape, see if what we can find out with Avery, as we'll just have a look as well, see if there's anything that we can figure out on that one at all. Nothing's really coming up on our scoring screen, so it looks as though it was just a half self-spin for Richard Avery, but he does continue along on the racetrack for the time being, so running in that second position. As we're actually getting word something Ritfield's either on pit road or something has happened to him, but we'll get confirmation of that in just one moment's time. We're not quite sure actually what happened there to Richard Avery. We'll stay with him for this sequence. In fact, it must have happened a lot earlier, because you can see that gap there already. But Jeffrey Ritfield, let's check in with him. Has something happened to our race leader? We are getting word that potentially something has happened to Jeffrey Ritfield. But he's not classified as out of the race, but he has disappeared from our timing and scoring. So actually Jeffrey Ritfield is falling down the timing and scorings. Jeffrey Ritfield will be classified as out of the race. This guy has inherited the race lead, and that is Richard Avery. This is not a scheduled pit stop for Jeffrey Ritfield. He's had some technical issues, and it looks like he has fallen down the timing stands, because he is going to be classified now as out of the race. So there is your new race leader. By the way, Marcus Hamilton and Michael Dinkle have each made pit stops. There is Marcus Hamilton, he did an 8.4 second stop. Michael Dinkle, a 7.3 second stop. Dinkle all over the rear of Marcus Hamilton right now as we ride along board with Michael Dinkle as they work themselves into a very difficult section on the racetrack. As we've got Richard Avery on pit road, there you see him. He is coming in to make his first and only pit stop of the day, coming underneath the bridge. And here is Richard Avery then. He inherited the race lead because Jeffrey Whitfield had an issue. He is going to be classified as out of the race. And you see behind him as well, you've got Gonzalez in. Avery out and away, 8.1 seconds. There you see Gonzalez. He's going to get himself topped up with fuel to the end of the race. 8-second stop for him. But there you see Richard Avery working himself now. He's got the race lead still. This is important. Other guys haven't yet pitted. People like Pierre Britsu haven't yet pitted. But Avery was able to get out ahead of him. There you will see Pierre Britsu working himself on the exit of corner number 4. And actually right on board with Britsu. There you can see your race leader just ahead of him. The issue is, though, that Britsu hasn't yet made a pit stop. He's one of only a couple of guys not yet to have made a pit stop as we're now on lap number 18. Of 32 here, and when he does make a stop, he will fall down outside the top 10 once again. There you see Marcus Hamilton. He's going to have a net second place out of all of this as we now ride along board with him. And there you can see the gap to the leader though. 4 seconds on the racetrack between Marcus Hamilton running in that 3rd position, soon to be a net second place, and also Richard Avery, who leads this race. He inherited the lead of the race after Whitfield's issues. But Hamilton continues to run in 3rd. Will Britsu come onto pit road this time, Brian? The answer to that question is going to be yes, he will. So there you see then, onto pit road comes Pierre Britsu, the last driver but one to make a pit stop, as Antti Pajala hasn't yet made a stop. But there you see Britsu coming down into his box, and he will get himself done for the end of the race. Slightly long stop there for Britsu, 8.9 seconds, but he is now back out and away. So then just one person left to make a stop. There you see Antti Pajala hasn't yet made a stop. In fact, he's actually going side by side right now, just losing a position there to Fulvian Karch as he continues his charge back up through the field. Still classified in the 13th place on the racetrack. You say now just one guy who hasn't yet made his pit stop. There you see him on your screen. Behind him, though, it is mighty close as we're going to ride along board with this guy running in P15. It is Timo Valentinovavi running himself in that 15th position. And Volki Javari hasn't yet really made an impression in this race. He's got one guy behind him on the racetrack, 4.4 seconds back. But he's now putting that pressure on Ivan Sol, who has made a stop, 7.1 seconds. Just 1 second up the road as it stands right now. Dinkle and Hamilton battling for P2 now. It is on the racetrack ever since Britsu has made his stop. There you see Michael Dinkle just ahead of him. You'll see Marcus Hamilton as they've got now just 12 laps here to go here at Sao Paulo. Dinkle working himself down in towards turn number 4. Now, Hamilton's last lap time was a 1 minute 18.998. It was a 1 minute 19.3 last time by for Dinkle. So Dinkle lost himself a couple of tenths of a second. Of course, part of that will be the fact that there was that dirty air which came into effect. These cars, of course, changed throughout the course of a run. We're looking high above once again here at Sao Paulo. But there is your gap. Just now down into the 1 second range once again, as Hamilton has now got to start really pushing it, but making sure he's got something left in the tank for the end of this race as well. We ride along board with him, having a look from the rear as he works himself up once again towards the last section of this track. That very fast sweeping left-hander before he comes past the start-finish line. Dinkle, of course, is in that draft zone once again, and that will make things a lot more interesting. Let's get a look at the lap times. It's going to be a 1 minute 18.942 for Hamilton. 1 minute 18.4. 1 minute 18.8 that last time by for Michael Dinkle. Dinkle 1/10 of a second faster. Labate, Abritsu battling for position as we're having a look. Actually, Abritsu's going to actually try and make a pass. We'll go and have a look at that one. There you see Abritsu down to the inside. Outside here we'll go. Riding with Evers. A two make contact there. Both of them spinning around. Let's get ourselves another look at that one then, because Abritsu and Evers both they made contact down into the centre S. We saw Jeremy Bootsleep, of course, do this with one of what was then the 3ID drivers down in the RaceSpotTV World Championship Grand Prix Series, but they come down in towards turn number 1. There you see both cars just spinning around. Thankfully, the car behind was able to get out of the way, but a big incident there. Two drivers, no real damage, just a little bit of bruised pride and a lot of time lost. We'll get one more look of that right along board with Pierre Abritsu. There you see then Abritsu losing that car. There you'll see the guy who's also spun around as well. So not a good day for Abritsu, of course. He was up as high as second place in this event, but he made that pit stop later than everyone else, and now he has scored well down the field. Marcus Hamilton continues to run in that second place, continues to battle with Michael Dinkel in that battle for third place overall. Hamilton and Dinkel 1.2 seconds separating them, but keep an eye out on Gonzalez, who runs himself in the 4th place right now. There you see him right along board with him for this middle section of the lap. So there you see those two guys continuing to battle for position. Dinkel gained a little bit that time by, but not that much. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, this Sunday, it is the 4th annual ISOWC Indianapolis 500, powered by And1 Design and in benefit of Orphan Secure. Special start time, 3:30 p.m. GMT, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, as drivers prepare to do 800 corners, 500 miles around the world's greatest racetrack, that is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's exclusively live in benefit of Orphan Secure and powered by And1 Designs here on RaceSpotTV. Pierre Abritsu, he close to making a pass. We'll go along board with him. You see dancing to the outside, and this was with Coles, and he will just, I think, be able to get that pass done into turn number 1. He'll run it high, and actually doesn't get it done. Will he try and do the cutover, however? Abritsu not able to make that thing work. You've got to ask him if he's got any damage from that incident he had a little bit earlier on. We'll remain on board with him. Will he now try and do the inside down into turn number 4? He looks close. Going to be a very late pass if he does so, and he doesn't. Abritsu remains in the 11th place for the time being on the racetrack. Just behind them as well, you can see it's mighty close here for some of the last releases on the lead lap. You've still got Temo running himself in the 14th position. You see just behind him as well, you have got this guy, Juan Luis Alfaro, running himself in the 15th position on the racetrack. These guys, last time by, Alfaro did a great lap, almost 1 second faster than Valky Jarvi, as they work themselves back for this middle section of the racetrack, come down the hill again. And I think that this time by, you expect to see Alfaro trying to make that move down in towards turn number 1. Just to give you an update, by the way, Hamilton, Dinkel and Gonzalez, they have closed the gap down now, just 2 seconds separating them on the racetrack. We'll go back to that in just 1 moment's time, because we'll ride along board with Alfaro. I think he's just potentially a little bit too far back. Unless he gets on the bottom now, I don't think he would be close enough to make that pass down in towards turn number 1. And indeed, it doesn't look as though he's going to. In fact, he will go down the inside, and he will gain that position. So Alfaro at the last moment being able to jump up 1 spot on the racetrack, moving himself up into 14th, just 1 second now behind Ivan Sol, who runs in that 13th position. So then, there you see your 3-car train as they work themselves through Yonkau once again. Less than 10 laps to go here at Interlagos, and it is Hamilton who runs in that 2nd position. You've got Dinkel running in 3rd, and then Gonzalez running in the 4th position as we ride on board with Michael Dinkel once again as they come back down towards turn number 1. Oh, we've got Ivan Sal off the racetrack. Ivan Sal is off of the racetrack. There you see him. He's just had a moment in the middle sector of this lap. We'll get our replay up and show you what just happened to him. So then, having a look at Ivan Sal, he was in the 12th position. He has had a moment on the racetrack. He has fallen back. Oh, no, actually, it wasn't him. It was a car just behind him who lost the position. I do apologise to Ivan Sal. I believe it was actually Iker Estefana who lost that position in that Hartmann oil car. So we'll get another look at that. Have a look from him on board. So it started, you see, Iker actually made a bit of contact there with Cole. I believe that he's in that 17th position, but we'll stay on board with him. The incident happened just as they come through this corner. You see the back end steps out, car sliding around, trying to avoid. Then last moment, bit of contact with the 13 car. That was a Britsu, and Estefania now down into the 14th place on the racetrack. Let's get one more look. So there you see the wiggle first, then the contact. Britsu actually turning him in that, turning the 18 car of Estefana, but that was your incident there, and that is why he's now down into the 14th place in the racetrack. Britsu has been in the wars a little bit here today, but out front, one guy who hasn't been in the wars is this man, Richard Avery. Less than 10 laps to go. Let's ride along board and do half a lap with Richard Avery. On the 18.1 lap there for Avery, as he comes back down into the centre S. We'll remain on board of him until he comes out of this. Now down into the curve of the Sol they come. Well, he comes. They say, there's Avery, and there, all the way back here, is Marcus Hamilton. But the thing for Hamilton is, look at the two cars he's got behind him. Dinkel, just 8 tenths of a second back, and then you've also got Fabio Gonzalez there in that mix as well. Now, this is that time that if you've got anything left on the button, it's potentially like time to go and use it. As you can see, Gonzalez just about 2 car lengths on the rear of Dinkel. Of course, Dinkel is your 2014 ISOWC IndyCar champion, taking that in absolutely dominant fashion. But Gonzalez, we will look on board with him, really handling that pressure on. And one mistake from either of these drivers, they could lose an absolute ton of time and also potential to get themselves onto the podium here today. One guy won't make it. So there is that battle for P2, 3, 4 on the racetrack. You've also got Morgan right behind Kolak right now. There you can see Kolak. There you can see his competition just behind him, which is Marco Morgan. The gap between these drivers is literally about 6 tenths of a second. 5 laps to go now here at Interlagos for these guys to sort it all out. Last time by, Morgan was a lot faster, so we're right on board now with Morgan as he comes up the hill. Not on the button this time. He's speed up to about 180 miles an hour. We've seen peak speeds about 185 miles an hour. Morgan up to 183, 84, 85. That draft playing it a little bit, giving him a couple of miles an hour advantage as they come back down into turn 1. Now, some of these guys are set up for downforce. They're set up to be fast in that middle section of the racetrack. Other guys are more for straight line speed. Hold a loose race car for the center section of this racetrack, but then have the speed to make passes down the front and back straightaway if they need to. And Morgan now all over the rear of Kolak in that battle for P5 on the racetrack. There's your battle once again then for P2, 3 and 4. There you can see Hamilton in second place, Dinkel in third, Gonzalez in that 4th place. There's still a lot of truth between these guys, and of course the question is, no one knows how many uses of the button they still have as we work up the hill again now with Michael Dinkel. Can he got enough to make that pass over Hamilton, or has he used them too early? 4 laps remaining in this event. Dinkel, let's have a look at his speed, and it is now up to 186 miles an hour down into turn number 1. Just not quite close enough to make that pass. They remain line astern for the time being. So here they are then, working themselves down towards turn number 4. It does look as though they'll remain line astern once again. There you see Hamilton, Dinkel and Gonzalez. As quickly as you can say it, they are through that corner, then through 5. These guys are doing a great display of driving here, but it is difficult for either Dinkel or Gonzalez to find a way of moving themselves up. For Gonzalez, of course, he is just half a second away from being on the podium, but there's 3.5 laps for this to all sort themselves out. To have a run through, by the way, your retirees will do that in just 1 moment's time. So your retirees in this event then, you've got Oscar Mangan out of the race. This guy, Christian Theo-Saltz, of course, had his issues earlier. We'll have a look at him because his car was impaired. We'll have a look at his top line speed to show you just how bad his car is. But it's, you see, just 170 miles an hour. He's 10 miles an hour off the pace. 124.2 his last lap time. Just running here to get himself a couple of laps under his belt, but not a good day for Saltz. Rotfeld is classified as out of the race, and we've got one guy scored 1 lap down, that's Andrew Boldy, and Ibritsu apparently is now classified as out of the race, down in the 15th position. So Ibritsu joins the list of retirees as out of this event, as we've got Spinner down, and that is Eka Estefania. Let's get a look and see what happened to him. There you see then Estefania working himself and that run down to Young Cow. Does he lose it here? Or does he lose it on the exit? I think he loses it on the exit off the corner. Indeed he does. That car getting loose on him. Something's happened here actually. We'll try and have a look, because it wasn't Estefania by the looks who actually had that incident. Potentially it was Ivan Sol, but Estefania was the guy classified. Unfortunately our timing isn't working the way he wanted to, but he did have an incident, potentially down into turn 1. Let's have a look. Maybe not, but we did see a car spun down on the racetrack, so we did know there was something that went on. But these guys continue to battle along. As I say, it is down to now just a couple of laps remaining, 2 laps remaining as they come past the stripe for these drivers. Let's ride on board with Dinkel again. Has he got enough? He's much closer this time by as he looks to the outside. Not quite close enough, but now if he's got anything left, he has a chance to do the under-over as they come out of the curve of the Sol. Of course, he's got to be careful of Gonzalez behind. He will attack if any of these guys make an issue. Dinkel not quite close enough though to make that move down into turn number 4. No, he's not. So those guys remain line astern. But you see though, Gonzalez, is he going to try and go too wide? I think he's going to try and do it up the hill. We'll have a look there. But Gonzalez was brave, tried the outside line into turn number 6 there. As there you will see, we'll get our replay of that, because that was a mighty close out between those 2 drivers. And you almost thought, just for a moment, that potentially Gonzalez was going to try and do it. We'll get ourselves to say another look of it. There you see them running too wide as they come up the hill. And because it's lap car getting out of the way. But thankfully, they didn't try and go too wide there, because it's always crazy when that one happens. So then, we're coming on to the white flag lap. There is 1 more lap to go, and it doesn't look as though that Dinkel has anything for Hamilton, but we're riding on board now with Fabio Gonzalez. Has he got anything? I see he's looking to the outside, not quite close enough, but he'll have that chance again to do that over-under. He needs to fall back into line as Dinkel loses it. Michael Dinkel loses it. He gets himself back onto the racetrack. He will remain in 4th place. Morgan is just a little bit too far back, but this is how it stands right now. As you see, Morgan trying to battle as well with Kodak in the last laps of this race. We'll get ourselves a very quick look to show you what happened to Michael Dinkel, because he lost it down into turn 1. Here is the replay of what happened to him as they came down into that first corner, just looping it there. We'll get ourselves one more very, and I mean very quick look at this. There you see down in turn 1, Dinkel just losing it there, costing him a podium here at Interlagos. But Richard Avery works himself now up the hill for the final time. He will get victory here at Interlagos. Avery started second. He takes victory here at Interlagos. A victory here in the IndyCar Road Course Championship. Second place will go to Marcus Hamilton, able to hold on, able to preserve his tyres and his push to pass. He will come home in second overall. Gonzalez will get himself a podium in third, and then it will be Michael Dinkel. He will come home in the fourth place overall. There you see Dinkel just coming past, and Dinkel will round out your top four as Kodak now just coming past the line, and he will claim himself a fifth place here. And just behind him, Marco Morgan will have to settle for sixth place overall. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll step aside for just one moment, and then we'll be back with final race results here from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace. You are watching RaceSpot TV. Stick with us.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race for the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 0-1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big choke.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back then to post-race coverage from this, the 8th week of the 2014 Season 3 IndyCar Road Course Championship, powered by And One Designs here on RaceSpot TV. To run through your final race results, it is Richard Avery getting first place by 14.8 seconds over Marcus Hamilton. Fabio Gonzalez rounds out your podium as Michael Dinkel, running in that third spot, spins it with just 1 lap to go at the center S. Marinés Colac comes home in 5th position, Marco Morgan in 6th, Carlo Labate in the 7th position, Frederick Evers in 8th, Bertrand Kroll, a good recovery by him to get himself back up into 9th after issues early on, and Antti Pajala rounds out your top 10. Ivan So and Juan Luis Alfaro runs out in 11th and 12th places respectively. Timo Valkijavi in the 13th position, Iker Stefania in 14th, Andrea Boldi 15th, and he is the first of your retirees. Pierre Ubritsu in the 16th position, Christian Theozolt, and Jeffrey Redfield in 18th and 19th. Oscar Mangan rounds out your field here today. So then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being a part of our coverage here today on RaceSpot TV. Don't forget, we'll be back this Sunday with coverage of the 4th annual ISOWC Indianapolis 500, powered by And One Designs and in benefit of Orphan Secure. Our coverage will start at 3:30 p.m. GMT, that is 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and you'll get all the pageantry, all of the mystique, everything that is Indianapolis Motor Speedway, as for the 4th time drivers of the ISOWC IndyCar Series take on the world's greatest racetrack. That is all we have time for today, ladies and gentlemen, but once again, thank you very much for being a part of our coverage. We will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.